A dying billionaire heard something that stopped him cold. A poor orphan girl singing on the streets of Lagos. What happened next will leave you speechless. He was worth billions but felt empty inside. She had nothing but possessed something priceless. When their worlds collided, everything changed. But you won't believe what she did when he was dying. This story will restore your faith in humanity. Don't scroll away, you need to see this ending. Hello family, before we start this intriguing story, we would like you to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so that you will be notified once we drop new story. Also comment the time you are watching this and country you are watching from. The sun painted the busy streets of Lagos in golden colors. Cars honked loudly while people hurried to their daily work. Among the crowd, a small girl walked slowly carrying a worn basket. Her name was Amahle, which means the beautiful one in her grandmother's language. But beauty could not fill an empty stomach or provide shelter from the rain. Amahle had been living on the streets for 3 years now, ever since her grandmother passed away. She survived by singing at traffic lights and collecting bottles to sell. Her voice was like honey mixed with morning dew, sweet and pure. At the busy intersection near Victoria Island, she positioned herself carefully. The traffic light turned red and expensive cars stopped in long lines. Amahle took a deep breath and began to sing. Her voice floated through the air like a bird finding its way home. Some drivers rolled down their windows to listen. Others pretended not to hear, but their hearts stirred nonetheless. "Small girl, your voice is like heaven," said a kind woman from a blue car, dropping some coins into Amahle's basket. But most cars drove away when the light turned green, leaving only the echo of her song and the dust from their tires. As the afternoon sun grew hot, a sleek black car with tinted windows stopped at the intersection. It was different from the others, longer, shinier, and it seemed to command respect from other drivers. The car had been coming to this same spot for 3 days now. Each time, it would stop even when the light was green, as if the driver wanted to listen to something special. Amahle noticed the car but continued singing. Her song today was about hope, a melody her grandmother used to hum while cooking their simple meals. Inside the black car, an old man sat alone in the back seat. His name was Chinedu Okafor, and he was one of the richest men in West Africa. He owned hotels, oil companies, and banks across the continent. But today, Chinedu was not thinking about money. He was thinking about time, the one thing his billions could not buy. "Sir, should we move?" asked his driver, Samuel. "No," Chinedu whispered, his voice weak. "Let me listen a little longer." The doctors had told him he had only weeks to live. His body was failing, but his ears still worked perfectly. And right now, they were filled with the most beautiful sound he had heard in years. That evening, Chinedu lay in his private hospital room at Lagos University Teaching Hospital. The room was filled with expensive flowers and get-well cards from important people. But he felt more alone than ever. His daughter, Ngozi, sat beside his bed talking about business matters. She was a successful lawyer who had inherited her father's sharp mind for making money. "Papa, the board meeting is tomorrow. You need to sign these documents," she said, placing papers on his bedside table. "I heard something beautiful today," Chinedu said suddenly, ignoring the papers. "What do you mean?" Ngozi asked, looking confused. "A song. A voice that reminded me of your mother when she was young." Ngozi's expression softened for a moment. Her mother had died when she was only 12 years old. Since then, both she and her father had buried their emotions in work and wealth. "Papa, you need to rest. The doctors say you're getting weaker." "I know I'm dying, Ngozi. But before I go, I want to do something meaningful. Something that matters." Ngozi didn't understand what her father meant, but she could see something had changed in his eyes. There was a spark there that had been missing for years. The next morning, Chinedu asked Samuel to drive him to the intersection again. This time he rolled down the window completely. Amahle was there as always, singing to the morning traffic. When she saw the black car, she smiled slightly. She had begun to look forward to seeing it. "Little girl," Chinedu called out softly. Amahle walked closer to the car, her bare feet making no sound on the hot asphalt. "Yes, sir? What is your name?" "Amahle, sir." "That's a beautiful name. Would you like to earn some money, Amahle?" The girl's eyes widened. She had learned to be careful of strangers, but something about this old man's voice made her feel safe. "What kind of work, sir?" "I would like you to sing for me. Not here on the street but somewhere quiet. I will pay you well." Amahle thought about it. She needed money desperately. Her stomach had been empty for 2 days now. "Okay, sir. But can I ask why?" Chinedu smiled, the first real smile he had managed in months. "Because your voice reminds me that there is still beauty in this world. And I think I think I need to remember that before my time runs out. Get in the car, Amahle. I want to show you something. Amahle hesitated. Her grandmother had always warned her about getting into cars with strangers. But her grandmother had also taught her to trust her heart, and her heart told her this man meant no harm. She climbed into the back seat of the luxurious car. The leather was soft, and the air conditioning felt wonderful after hours under the hot sun. Where are we going, sir? To my home. I want you to meet my daughter, and I want to hear you sing in a place where your voice can truly be appreciated. As the car drove through the wealthy areas of Lagos, Amahle pressed her face against the window. She had never seen houses so big, gardens so green, or walls so high. Sir, are you very rich? She asked innocently. Chinedu laughed, and it was a sound he hadn't heard from himself in years. Yes, child. I'm very rich. But today, listening to your voice, I realized that I have been very poor in the things that truly matter. Amahle didn't fully understand what he meant, but she could hear sadness in his voice. Without thinking, she began to hum softly, the same song about hope that her grandmother had taught her. As her gentle melody filled the car, Chinedu closed his eyes and felt something he had forgotten existed: peace. Samuel, the driver, glanced in the rearview mirror and saw something that amazed him. His boss, the man who never showed emotion, had tears running down his cheeks. But these were not tears of sadness. For the first time in years, Chinedu Okafor was crying tears of joy. The car continued toward the mansion, carrying an unlikely pair whose meeting would change both their lives forever. Neither of them knew that this simple act of kindness would set in motion events that would touch the hearts of an entire city. As they drove, Amahle continued to sing softly, her voice mixing with the gentle hum of the expensive car's engine, creating a harmony that seemed to heal something broken in the world. The black car stopped in front of massive golden gates. Two security guards quickly opened them, bowing respectfully as the car passed through. Amahle's eyes grew wide as she saw the biggest house she had ever imagined. The mansion stood like a palace, with fountains dancing in the front yard and flowers of every color creating a rainbow on the ground. Peacocks walked freely across the perfectly cut grass, their feathers shining in the afternoon sun. This is where you live? Amahle whispered, her voice full of wonder. Yes, child. But it has been a very quiet place for many years. Today, I hope your voice will fill it with life again. As they walked toward the front door, Amahle noticed something strange. Despite all the beauty around her, the mansion felt cold and empty, like a beautiful shell with no soul inside. The main door was opened by a woman in a neat uniform. Her name was Mrs. Adana, and she had worked for the Okafor family for 15 years. Good afternoon, sir, she said, then stopped when she saw Amahle. Sir, who is this child? This is Amahle. She will be our guest today. Please prepare some food for her, I think she might be hungry. Mrs. Adana looked confused but nodded. In all her years working here, she had never seen her boss bring a street child home. Inside the mansion, Ngozi was waiting in the living room. She had come to discuss more business matters with her father. When she saw Amahle, her face changed from surprise to anger. Papa, what is this? Who is this dirty child, and why did you bring her here? Her name is Amahle, and she is not dirty, she is just poor. There is a difference. Papa, you're not thinking clearly. The medication is affecting your mind. You cannot just bring random children from the street into our home. Amahle stood quietly, feeling uncomfortable. She had faced rejection many times before, but somehow this hurt more because she had started to hope for something better. I should go, Amahle said softly, turning toward the door. No, Chinedu said firmly. You are my guest and you will stay. He turned to his daughter. Ngozi, sit down. I want you to hear something that will change your heart. Nothing will change my mind about this foolishness, Papa. Just listen. Please. Chinedu looked at Amahle with gentle eyes. Sing for us, child. Sing the song about hope that you sang this morning. Amahle closed her eyes and began to sing. Her voice started soft and low, like a gentle wind beginning to blow. The melody was simple, but it carried something deeper. The pain of loss, the strength of survival, and the light of hope that refuses to die. As she sang, something magical happened in the room. The cold marble walls seemed to warm up. The expensive furniture seemed to become more welcoming. Even the air felt different. Ngozi had planned to interrupt the song and send the girl away. But as the melody continued, she found herself unable to speak. The voice reminded her of something from long ago, her mother singing lullabies when she was small and afraid. Mrs. Adana, who had been listening from the doorway, felt tears running down her cheeks. She thought of her own daughter, who lived in the village and whom she rarely saw because of her work. Chinedu sat in his chair, his eyes closed, a peaceful smile on his face. For the first time in months, the pain in his body seemed to fade away. When Amahle finished singing, the room was completely silent. Even the peacocks outside seemed to have stopped their calling to listen. "Where did you learn to sing like that?" Ngozi asked, her voice much softer now. "My grandmother taught me. She said that music is the language of the heart, and when we sing from our heart, we can heal broken things." "What happened to your grandmother?" "She went to heaven 3 years ago. Since then, I have been living on the streets trying to survive." Ngozi looked at her father and saw something she hadn't seen in years: genuine happiness. She realized that in just one afternoon, this small girl had done something that all the expensive doctors and medications could not do. She had brought peace to a dying man's heart. "Papa, why did you bring her here? What do you want to do?" Chinedu stood up slowly, his body weak but his spirit strong. "I want to do something good before I leave this world. I've spent my whole life building wealth, but I have forgotten to build joy. This child has a gift that can heal hearts and bring hope to people." He walked to the window and looked out at his beautiful but empty garden. "I want to help her. I want to give her a chance at a better life. And I want her to keep singing so that other people can feel what I felt today." "What do you mean?" Ngozi asked. "I want to build a music school. A place where children like Amahle can learn and grow. A place where their voices can be heard and their talents can shine." Amahle couldn't believe what she was hearing. "A music school? For children like her?" "But sir, I don't know how to read or write. I have never been to school." "That doesn't matter, child. You have something more valuable than education. You have a gift from God. And gifts are meant to be shared." Mrs. Adana brought food for Amahle: rice, chicken, and vegetables prepared with love. As the girl ate, she told them stories about her life on the streets, about other children who had no homes, about the cold nights and hungry days. But she also told them about the beautiful sunrises she watched every morning, about the kindness of strangers who sometimes helped her, about the songs that kept her hope alive. "You are very strong," Ngozi said, and she meant it. "I have never known anyone who has been through so much and still has such a beautiful spirit. My grandmother always said that God gives us exactly the strength we need for each day. No more, no less." As the evening approached, Chinedu began to feel tired. The excitement of the day had drained his weak body. "Amahle, would you sing one more song for me? Something peaceful that will help me rest." The girl stood up and began to sing a lullaby, the same one her grandmother used to sing to her when she was scared or sad. Her voice filled the mansion with warmth and love. As she sang, Chinedu felt his eyes growing heavy. But instead of feeling afraid of sleep as he had been for weeks, he felt safe and comfortable. "Thank you, child," he whispered as the song ended. "Tomorrow we will start planning the music school. Tonight you will sleep here in a warm bed with a full stomach." Mrs. Adana prepared a beautiful guest room for Amahle. As the girl lay down on the soft mattress, she could hardly believe what had happened to her life in just one day. Before going to sleep, Ngozi came to check on Amahle. She sat on the edge of the bed, something she had never done with a stranger before. "Amahle, I owe you an apology. When I first saw you, I judged you unfairly. I was wrong." "It's okay, Miss Ngozi. Many people look at me and see only a poor street child. But your father saw something different." "What do you think he saw?" "I think he saw hope. And I think he needed hope very much." Ngozi realized that this wise young girl understood something that she, with all her education and success, had missed. Her father wasn't just helping Amahle, Amahle was helping him too. "Can I make you a promise?" Ngozi asked. "What kind of promise?" "I promise that no matter what happens to my father, I will make sure his dream of the music school comes true. And I promise that you will have a home here for as long as you need one." Amahle smiled, and for the first time in 3 years she felt like she truly belonged somewhere. As the night grew quiet, the mansion felt different. It was no longer a cold, empty palace. It had become a home where love was growing, where hope was taking root, and where the power of a simple song was beginning to change everything. Outside, the peacocks settled in their roosts, and the fountains continued their gentle dance. But inside, 3 hearts were being transformed by the magic of unexpected kindness and the healing power of music. 3 weeks had passed since Amahle first entered the Okafor mansion. The house that once felt like a cold museum had become alive with music and laughter. Every morning, Amahle would sing while the peacocks danced in the garden, and every evening she would help Chinedu fall asleep with gentle lullabies. But on this particular morning something was different. Mrs. Adana found Chinedu struggling to breathe in his bedroom. His skin was pale and his hands were shaking. Sir, I think we need to call the doctor, she said, her voice filled with worry. No, Chinedu whispered weakly. Call Amahle. I want to hear her voice. When Amahle arrived at his bedside, she could see that the kind man who had changed her life was getting much worse. But she didn't cry. Instead, she took his hand and began to sing softly. As her voice filled the room, Chinedu's breathing became easier. The pain in his eyes seemed to fade away, replaced by the same peace she had brought him from the very beginning. My dear child, he said when she finished singing, I need to tell you something important. I may not have much time left. Don't say that, Papa Chinedu, Amahle said. She had started calling him Papa, and it made his heart warm every time. Listen to me carefully. I have been working on something special, something that will live on long after I am gone. Ngozi entered the room carrying a thick folder of papers. Over the past 3 weeks, she had been working day and night on her father's dream project. The cold, business-focused woman had been transformed by watching Amahle's impact on their family. Papa, everything is ready, she said, her voice trembling with emotion. What is ready? Amahle asked, looking confused. Chinedu smiled despite his weakness. Show her Ngozi. Ngozi opened the folder and pulled out beautiful architectural drawings. The papers showed plans for a magnificent building with music rooms, gardens, and spaces for children to learn and play. This is the Amahle Foundation Music School, Ngozi explained. We have already bought the land, hired the best teachers, and set aside money to support 100 children every year. Amahle's eyes filled with tears. You named it after me? Of course, child. This whole dream started when I heard your voice. You showed me that music has the power to heal, to bring joy, and to give hope to those who need it most. Chinedu reached into his bedside drawer and pulled out a legal document. This paper says that you will be the first student and the forever symbol of this school. No matter what happens to me, you will always have a home, an education, and a chance to share your gift with the world. As the day progressed, Chinedu grew weaker. The doctors arrived and confirmed what everyone already knew: he was dying. They said he had perhaps hours, maybe a day at most. Word spread quickly through the mansion. Mrs. Adana called her family to pray. Samuel, the driver, couldn't stop crying. Even the gardener, who had watched Amahle sing to the peacocks every morning, came to pay his respects. But the most heartbroken person was Amahle herself. She had lost her grandmother 3 years ago, and now she was about to lose the man who had become like a father to her. I don't want him to go, she whispered to Ngozi. I know, sweetheart. I don't want him to go either. But sometimes the people we love have to leave us. What matters is that we keep their love alive in our hearts. How do we do that? By living the way they taught us to live. By being kind, by helping others, and by using our gifts to make the world a better place. As evening approached, more people began arriving at the mansion. News of Chinedu's condition had spread, and important people from across Lagos came to say goodbye. But Chinedu only wanted to see one person. Bring me Amahle, he whispered. Amahle entered Chinedu's bedroom to find him surrounded by flowers and cards, but his eyes were only looking for her. She sat beside his bed and took his weak hand in her small, strong ones. Papa Chinedu, are you in pain? Not when I hear your voice, my dear. Will you sing for me one last time? What song would you like to hear? Sing the song about hope. The one that brought us together. Amahle began to sing, but this time was different. Her voice carried all the love she felt for this man who had saved her life. It carried her gratitude for the family she had found, her sadness about saying goodbye, and her hope for the future they had planned together. As she sang, something beautiful happened. Other people in the mansion began to gather outside the bedroom door. Mrs. Adana, Samuel, Ngozi, the gardener, even some of the visitors, they all came to listen. The song seemed to float through the entire house, reaching every corner, touching every heart. Outside, the peacocks stopped their evening calls as if they too were listening to this final performance. When the song ended, Chinedu squeezed Amahle's hand gently. Thank you, my beautiful daughter. You have given me the greatest gift anyone could ask for. What gift, Papa? You taught me how to love again. You showed me that the most important things in life cannot be bought with money. You reminded me that there is still goodness in this world. As the night grew deeper, Chinedu's breathing became very quiet. Amahle continued to hold his hand, humming softly. Ngozi sat on the other side of the bed, tears streaming down her face. Papa, Ngozi whispered, I want you to know that I will take care of Amahle. I will make sure the music school succeeds. I will carry on your dream. And I will sing, Amahle added. I will sing for all the children who need hope. I will sing for everyone who feels alone or afraid. Chinedu smiled one last time. Then I can rest peacefully. Just as the first light of dawn began to appear outside the window, Chinedu Okafor closed his eyes and went to sleep forever. But he went peacefully, surrounded by love, with the echo of Amahle's song in his heart. 6 months later, the Amahle Foundation Music School opened its doors. The building was even more beautiful than the drawings had shown. It had bright classrooms, a concert hall, gardens where children could play, and a special room dedicated to Chinedu's memory. On opening day, 100 children from all over Lagos came to learn. Some were orphans like Amahle had been. Others came from poor families who could never afford music lessons. All of them had one thing in common: they had voices that deserved to be heard. Amahle, now wearing a beautiful school uniform, stood in front of the new students. She was no longer the hungry street child who had sung at traffic lights. She was a confident young woman with a mission. "Welcome to our school," she said, her voice strong and clear. "Here you will learn that music is not just about making beautiful sounds. Music is about healing hearts, bringing people together and sharing hope with the world." She began to sing the same song that had started everything, the song about hope that her grandmother had taught her. As her voice filled the concert hall, the new students joined in, their voices blending together in perfect harmony. In the audience, Ngozi watched with tears of joy in her eyes. She had kept her promise to both her father and to Amahle. The music school was not just a building, it was a living monument to the power of love and the magic that happens when we open our hearts to help others. As the years passed, the Amahle Foundation Music School became famous throughout Africa. Children who graduated from the school went on to become teachers, musicians, and leaders in their communities. They carried Amahle's message of hope wherever they went. Amahle herself became a renowned singer, but she never forgot her roots. Every morning she would visit the street corner where she had first met Chinedu. She would sing there for a few minutes, remembering the day that changed everything. One day, a young boy approached her at that same intersection. He was thin and hungry, carrying a small guitar with broken strings. "Miss, I know how to play, but my guitar is broken. Can you help me?" Amahle smiled and saw herself in the boy's hopeful eyes. "What's your name?" "Jelani, miss." "Well, Jelani, let me tell you about a place where broken instruments are fixed and beautiful music is born. Let me tell you about the Amahle Foundation Music School." As she took the boy's hand and led him toward the car that would take them to the school, Amahle realized that Chinedu's dream had become something even bigger than he had imagined. It wasn't just about one music school, it was about creating a chain of kindness that would continue forever. The peacocks at the mansion still danced when they heard music. The fountains still played their gentle songs. And somewhere in the evening breeze, if you listened carefully, you could still hear the echo of a dying billionaire's last request and a poor orphan's song of hope. Moral lesson. This story teaches us that true wealth is not measured in money, but in the love we share and the lives we touch. When we use our gifts, no matter how small they may seem, to help others, we create ripples of kindness that can change the world. Amahle's voice was her gift, but it was her willingness to share it that made the difference. Chinedu's money was his resource, but it was his decision to use it for good that created his lasting legacy. Most importantly, this story shows us that when we open our hearts to others, especially those who seem different from us, we often discover that we receive far more than we give. The poor orphan and the dying billionaire both found exactly what they needed in each other, proof that God works in mysterious ways to bring the right people together at the right time. Thank you for watching till the end. Don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe to this channel for more interesting videos like this.